Thanks for stopping by Pete's Garage. In this video, we're going to be installing the damper on the 440. This is a 440 source damper, part number 200-1157. And while you think pretty simple to install a damper, just throw it on there, there are a couple things you should pay attention to and check when you're done to make sure it's installed right. First thing, obvious, maybe not so obvious, it has to be clean. This is a press fit part. It press fits onto the crankshaft, so you have to make sure they're clean. Anything that's on there, if you have a particle that's big enough, when you go to press fit your damper on, it can bind up and make it real difficult to install. Once they're both clean, on the back side that goes into the engine, put some assembly lube in here. This will help to press the damper on and give you a little smoother installation. You don't want to gall the crankshaft, and you certainly don't want to gall the damper as you're putting it on. Also, put a light coat of assembly lube on the inside around on the seal. You want the seal well lubricated so when you start it up, it's not a dry seal on the dry damper. That way the seal won't tear and you don't run risk of spinning anything on startup. I have some lube on the back of the damper here and on the seal, just so when I start to put it on, I don't get any binding and it fits nice and smooth. Just line up the keyway, and I'm just going to gently give it a few taps with a dead blow hammer. Now you need to move to something a little heavier. You don't want to hit on the outside of the damper here because it's mounted in rubber. It's flexible. It's not really going to do a good job pushing it on there. You want to focus on the center here, but you don't want to hit this with a mallet, for example, because you run the risk of damaging your damper. So I use a piece of aluminum, just a piece of aluminum that's softer, and make sure it's square. Just start to tap it on. Now when you get close to the end, you'll be able to see it get close on the timing chain cover. When you get close to the end, you can stop. You'll kind of feel it bottom out, and we can draw it in the rest of the way with the bolt. When you put the bolt in, if you don't have a majority of the bolt sticking out when you start to thread, in this case, a good almost inch. If you don't have that much thread sticking out, don't try and draw it in because you won't have enough threads. You'll end up stripping the threads on the bolt. After you torque down your damper, we're going to use the same process with a dial indicator to make sure piston number 1 is at top dead center. Here's another tip. If you use a really long bar on the wrench you're using, it makes it a lot easier to move the engine or rotate the crank just a little bit at a time. That way you can get it precisely at top dead center. Right there. Next, I'll put the timing pointer in location and install it. And the question is, why do I do that now instead of when I put the timing cover on? Number 1, I don't want to bend it. And number 2, it gives me the opportunity, once I have this installed, to go around the timing cover again to make sure all the bolts are tight. And they're going to relax from that gasket, so I go around one more time to make sure they're all tight. Okay, I've gone around the timing cover again, and they all did move a little bit. Now, if piston number 1 is still at top dead center, like it says dead nuts, and I have my timing pointer on, this should point exactly to 0 degrees, and it does. It's perfect. This is important because with the damper at 0 degrees and piston number 1 at top dead center, I can be sure when I put the distributor in and line it up to the number 1 position on the cap that is in firing position for the number 1 piston, and it will start right up. So that's the damper installation. As with anything, take your time, make sure you do it right, and thanks for stopping by Pete's Garage.